Hey, everybody, welcome back to another FUTRtech video podcast. Today, I've got a very special guest, Sandesh Patel, and myself. We're going to review all the videos that we did this year. So stay tuned. So welcome back. Today, we're going to take a look at all the video we produced over the year, and Sandesh and I are going to talk about some of our favorite ones and just break them down for you.
Yes.
Give me your hot list.
You know, when you brought up this idea, I got very excited about it. But like everything else, I started to overanalyze it. You know what I mean? It's really hard to pick.
It is. It's like they're all our children. You know, you can't pick your children.
Seems like you and I have a different relationship
well, maybe I spend a little bit more time with them, right?
Yeah, I think you do. You definitely create them. So for me, it was hard to pick one.
Yeah.
For the first category, for me, it was the personal one. And for me personally, the trans can work with Celia Daniels was really exciting for me. The fact that she, comes from this Indian culture.
Because a lot of people like me, especially the trans community, they're very creative. They're really good in what they do. But when you have the stigma, when you grow up with the stigma, it always pulls you down. It kind of makes you feel like, you're not good enough. And it takes away every joy that you have in being successful.
But her whole story from the beginning to the end, and just all the different stories that she has within her own story. You know what I mean? Like you could write a book on a year or two of her life. It just made me really humble the way she just approached everything. And she's just kicking ass, and just so happy to see someone just, thriving, with just so many challenges in her face, and she still just crushes it. I thought that was cool.
It was really awesome. And it was the thing that I thought was the most interesting about it was how open and emotional and honest that conversation was. I really enjoyed that one as well. That's one of my top ones as well, I'd say.
We all deal with challenges, and just to have that kind of attitude to me is like, at that point, I feel comfortable. Like I feel more empowered, right? To, deal with my own challenges, right? Yeah. Sometimes I'm a weenie about my challenges, right? Like I complain about things like, I'm going to complain less.
So what's next?
My next one was on change. So I categorized 3 of them. Change in different ways. So like in one way, the Clumio with Brian O'Shea, that was a change from a sales perspective, right? And how sales in our industry is changing. John Mcgrath, we talked about LinkedIn and how you brand ourselves, right? And I think that's a huge deal these days, and everyone is trying to change that way. And then Nick Tassler, who we had on before, and we saw his transformation during the pandemic, a public speaker who now all of a sudden has to go from travel and being on stage and making money to completely changing his life. And for him to do it and to succeed, all 3 of those guys, I thought those were really fun conversations to have.
Well, I thought Nick we had him on in 2020, and he's sort of a motivational speaker, and he would kind of do the circuit. And it was interesting, because at that time I think we were like his first video podcast thing. I mean, he just, was setting up his room, and, he did a real good job of it right out of the gate, which I thought was really interesting. But I was really excited to have him back on to kind of hear about his journey now that like he went, fully into sort of producing videos and for his clients and things like that, and sort of taking that content marketing perspective and that social media aspect of it was really interesting. And I thought John Mcgrath was really cool too, because like again, he had a really interesting transformative story about, like how he was out of work. He had just moved back to Ireland. He was out of work. He couldn't figure out how to get a job. He'd been on, sending his resume around, got him nowhere. And then he just leveraged his network to make everything happen. And that just let him do a job at LinkedIn, which was cool.
Nick said something during the podcast that resonated, or I think it was in one of his clips that you had, which basically he said, he was talking about making decisions. And one of the clips was, just living your life, making one decision at a time. Like, don't get so caught up in like rushing on things, right? It's like we make these decisions so quick, right? And during these days, I feel like we're expected to do even more in shorter period of time. So we have to make shorter, quicker, faster decisions, and make decisions which you might not have great information, and you don't really feel great about it, but you got to make a decision. And that for me, just that statement itself, like one decision at a time, was great for me. And then with John, after talking to him, I have a whole new perspective on Sales Navigator. I might get Sales Navigator out of my own pocket and pay for it, just because the power of LinkedIn is huge. And I knew it was powerful, but there's still things there that I still don't use. And I know that I could benefit from it, but I'm just not there yet.
Well, there's something to be said for mastering some of those tools. And I don't think either of us have really done that to the fullest on any of the platforms we're on.
Yeah, and lastly, with O'Shea, I think that what their company and organization has been able to do from a change perspective and changing sales, you and I have talked so many times on this podcast about sales, and what is making everything so challenging right now in the new world that we are in. So, there's huge, massive transformational things happening, and what sales is today will change. And for me as a sales guy for 23 years, I'm actually, as much anxiety as I've had, I got to say I'm pretty excited about the potential, because technology is just going to continue to grow, right? It's just going to be purchased different, marketed different, invested in different. It's just going to look not like it is today, but that's what's so exciting, I think. Yeah,
I agree. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out, because, we work for a very large organization, but in the future, when the fulfillment side of that business is handled through, like the Amazons of the world, does that mean everybody kind of becomes this independent sales agent? Funneling sales to that. I mean, it leads to a potentially very different world, for technology and other types of sales.
Yeah, I think Amazon can definitely eat a lot of lunch. It's going to take them a long time, I think, to ultimately get there, but I think it's definitely possible for them to get there. But in the meantime, there are so many challenges in technology still, so many. There's so many problems yet to be solved. And new problems. So as much as there's changes happening, there's so much opportunity out there too. It's just a matter of aligning yourself, because we are all going to be doing a different job, jobs that aren't really there yet. It could even be, like you say, for our kids, how you always say the jobs our kids will do, they haven't been invented yet. Dude, maybe ours haven't been. Maybe we got another change coming up, that is completely different,
Well, that's going to be the next episode when we do our predictions. But yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think if you look at the pace of acceleration of technological growth, industries are changing so rapidly now. That's inevitable, at our age, that there's going to be at least another job we're going to do that. Yeah. I mean, we're already doing it. Here's a job we're doing right now that's we didn't imagine doing, even 3 years ago. So.
Yeah, exactly. So change, and I'm sure when we get to yours, I'm sure you might have some of that in there. The other one was millennials. I've been hard on millennials, and I keep changing my tune as I just keep meeting amazing people. And Lee Blackwell and Paige Lord and Kai Peterson were all three people that just made me feel excited to, see where the future of America is going. I think there's they're just different, they think different than we do, but that's exactly what they need to do. They can't think like us, So I'm embracing them. I'm such a big fan of all of them.
I thought those conversations were really cool. I mean, I think it was really interesting to see people sort of at the start of their career, and with the perspective on, where they were going to go and, how they were going to get there. I thought that was very interesting. I mean, and it was, we're looking at three very different kind of people, there. Kai is sort of, he's going into research and, university researcher kind of aspect of things. You got Paige, who's focusing on AI ML, but she's going to get a hopefully a law degree, focusing on privacy issues and things like that. So taking it more from the ethics and governance perspective of what does this all mean? What's the impact to society? And Lee Blackwell, I mean, she's just straight up a ton of fun. But I mean, women in data and it's funny when you look back at who started off the computer revolution was women, and I feel like there's this new resurgence of women in tech and in particular, like coding and as data scientists and things like that. And I think that's a really awesome thing. And I think that, we need that perspective even more so,
Yeah. By the way, I think Lee already got promoted this year.
Of course she did.
So,
of course she did.
Yeah. Yeah. Standard. Like, weren't you not like you were talking about that? Like, okay, you have so many options, and that's what's great for, all three of them is that they do what they do for the right reasons too. Like this is not about it. I never got from any of them that it was about themselves and it was about like elevating.
It's one like I got to make a ton of money,
right? You could tell with them, right? They're choosing to solve big problems, right? Data, AI, and security, right? I mean, how pick more difficult topics than those three, right? So yeah, Lee's already been promoted and doing her thing. Keep seeing Paige just growing on TikTok. When you first told me, I really appreciate when you send me some TikTok videos. I'll be honest, I watch them and I don't really get it, right? Hers right away, there's something so appealing. And when you told me like how many subscribers she had in such a short period of time and this and that, I was like, wow. So that was super exciting. And now I get it.
Yeah.
God, she's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And I, for me, that was a cool one because that's sort of like, I like the opportunity to kind of do this crossover for, different social media platforms and perspectives. And, hopefully we'll do more of that because there's a lot of really amazing people producing incredible content on TikTok, and they do it in such a short amount of time. And, as hard as it is for me to produce a video in a short as is evidenced by this. It's just like I have an appreciation for, cramming a lot into a little bit.
Yeah, so big fan of the Millennials. And then another one was on timing in general. So I have two for those. One of them was the Metaverse. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think we posted that a week before Facebook changed their name to Meta.
Yeah,
was that about right? Like a week, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that was a great. I don't think we meant that to happen, but the timing was perfect.
Yeah.
But we were in the Metaverse conversations, and what I really appreciated was I was having those conversations with friends, right? Like I made great dinner topic these days. Hey, if you guys are about the Metaverse. But I really, you guys got me excited about you and Matt and Josh got me so excited, about all of that. It's the Surreal guys. Big props to those guys. I started to see what was happening there, and when it started to click, I started talking about it with people as I got comfortable. It was just really cool that when I got the text messages of like, "Hey, weren't you talking about this like a month ago?" or blah blah blah. So I think that was really cool. And then the other timing one was also with Lacework and just seeing Hatfield again. Like you and I haven't had a chance to talk to Hat. $1.8 billion, just a lot of money and blah blah blah. But on the personal side too, is just to catch up with Hat, see him again back in action. And it was so much on the line, for the organization. I'm glad we're catching them early, right? Of this, what they're trying to build here. So from a timing perspective, the two for me were the Metaverse conversation and then to the beginning here of what Lacework's trying to build.
Well, interestingly, this year, it seems like this year's gone on forever. I mean, like I can't imagine like some of the things I thought happened like 3 years ago were just this year. But the first video of this year was an interview with Surreal, talking about, the Metaverse platform that they're building, that they're, now more
that's right,
outwardly speaking about, specifically that, the Metaverse is, sort of the core goal here. But that's where we started the year. So that was interesting.
So just new fave tech, the doing what we do. I think I just get excited when I meet people or a company or technology. It just gives me some kind of an excitement.
Yeah.
And for me, it was safe security and Socket.
Yeah.
I feel something there, like, and I know he's young. I know he has, but he knows he has he still has a lot to learn. He knows that. And just by the way that he surrounds himself with very experienced people that he can trust and is so open to just, getting feedback and not letting the ego get in the way of progress and potential, all of those characteristics. And plus, the value of that technology, I think, is really needed. Like when we talk to customers, there's a need there. And so I'm just excited about what happens with them. And so that was my fave tech.
Well, and it's interesting because I feel Socket was on my list as well. And it's one of the most viewed videos we have too. But it was interesting. We did sort of back to back them and Arctic Wolf, and Arctic Wolf is another like breakout security company that I think is really interesting. And I think it's an interesting value proposition for them too, because they're talking about operationalizing security, not selling necessarily a security product, but just like, how do you operationalize it? And I think one of the things that we continue to see in this just incredibly fragmented security market is that people keep buying tools, but they don't know how to operationalize that, and I think that's an interesting conversation to have in the context of all that going on.
The geek part of me is coming out, man, especially in all the security stuff. I got, you've been around security your entire career. You get it. It's in your DNA. It's awesome. I'm learning, but man, I'm excited about learning more about security. It's taking me a little bit longer than I would like, but it's starting to click. But that value proposition is a value proposition which customers have repeatedly talked about, right? And so in the world of security, there's going to be so much happening in the next year. The podcast next year will be interesting when we do the best of 2022. I'm expecting a lot of security in that.
Oh yeah. Well, and we're going to do and the next one we're going to do our predictions for next year. So we'll save some of that for that one.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited about that one.
My list was very similar to yours, actually, which is interesting. But I also had some in there that I think that were really good, but didn't get as many views as I had imagined they would have. Some of the, sometimes the videos are, the conversations we have, like in around the actual podcast, like with the people outside of actually recording, you get to know some of these people, and they're kind of fun and engaging, and it's you remember that fondly too. And we had a lot of great people on. One of the people though, I think that was really fun, and it was a really interesting topic, but it didn't get as many views as I would have liked. But when we talked with Prince Coley of Automation Anywhere, I thought that was a really interesting. RPA. We had a really fun conversation outside of it all. But I thought it was the audio was really tough on that one to get to sound good.
Yeah.
People are in remote locations on mountaintops, or they're in cement rooms, or and you got to work around some of those things. But the conversation was really good, and I thought the idea of RPA is a really interesting one too. I think
absolutely.
Another one that for me that was really important that I wanted to bring up was Dr. Colleen Tarto of Starburst Data, because she inspired a lot of stuff that we did this year. Actually, I don't even think she knows that. I'm working.
There was a moment. There was a moment of complete inspiration. Was that on camera or off camera?
I think that was actually on camera. I think it's in the podcast. But I said, in my defense, because we were talking about diversity and getting more, female voices, or more, diverse people, voices on the show. And she said, and I said, in my defense, sometimes it's hard to find women in tech to get on, the podcast, right? And she said, just try harder. Yeah. But I'm a white male in tech, and I am part of the problem, right? I've had 2 women on out of 34 guests, and in my defense,
that's okay. You're doing better.
It's hard.
Do better.
I need to do better. I do need to do better. And in my defense, it is a little hard to find women represented in tech sometimes.
I'll give you a
at leadership.
I'll give you a list.
And she's right. It's like I can make any excuses all day long, but it's at the end of the day, we just got to do better. And I appreciate the fact that she said that, because I think that really changed the course of what we did a little bit, not a little bit, a lot actually. And we focus more on, the conversations about diversity, equity, inclusion and all that. I think, that's kind of what really got us saying, hey, we can do, more topics, more diverse topics than we, think just in the tech world. We can kind of open it up and talk about, important issues. Right. So I thought that one to me was kind of an important one for the year.
The conversation happened and there was this awkward moment. But that awkward moment is exactly what we needed in order to she got her statement out. And for you and I, who, we consider ourselves, you're more normal than I am, but we think that we're good people, and like there's no way that we would discriminate against anyone. And then something like that happens, and it's just this other aha moment of like, okay, there's still areas of improvement. I got, now I know what it is. And then you talk about it with people, like I talked about it with you, and I thought that was great. So I appreciate you bringing that one up. And then the other one, when you said about Prince Coley, yeah, man, like big fan. But it was also that off-air conversation too. I know we weren't recording, but that's the other part that you mentioned is about we get to meet these people and we get to have these conversations. And this is the piece where like the future of, whatever we do at FUTRtech and everything else that we're doing here, we're trying to connect people so we can have conversations and then share with each other. Because there's so many times where we have these moments where we have these conversations with someone, and it changes a decision that you're going to make. It changes the way you feel about something. It challenges your current thought process. It helps you make better decisions. It makes you a better person. I mean, there's just so, and these are, and that person probably won't ever even remember they said that, right? But for years and years later, I will remember it, right? And it could be like my aunt or a cousin, it could be anybody, right? But it happens. And I think that's what's so cool about meeting really cool people is that you get to have these conversations and different perspectives, and I get to learn from that. You and I get to learn from that. And I think, meeting people like Prince was really cool.
You're talking about the metaverse, and for me, I've done a few of these little kind of spoken word odes to Ken Nordine and word jazz maybe, but not nearly as good as what he does. But but some of those that we call them explainer videos when we were talking about them. But I did one on the metaverse, which I thought was a really fun one, and I use a lot of stock video and stuff like that. This virtual existence offers the endless promise of delightful illusion, bridging gaps that time and space lay before us, giving us instantaneous connection to the totality of human existence. And we sit at the edge of its existence, the primordial ooze from which it will arise, and one has to ask oneself, what will we make of it? And it takes an unimaginable.
What stock video?
What's that? Stock video is just like video that's you buy from a service, and it's licensed to use, and things like that. Yeah. And so it takes an unimaginable amount of work to put together like a 5-minute video, but they're tons of fun to do. Unfortunately, not a lot of people will end up watching them. So it's like, that sucks, but hopefully the people who watch it appreciate it.
So, dude, it should be noteworthy that in 2022, again, 2021, I think you did an amazing job just getting your skills even better and better and making better and better content.
I appreciate that.
It really is.
Even if you were the only one who watched that Metaverse video.
It's awesome. It's awesome. No, trust me, a lot of people watched it.
Not as many as I would have hoped, but it's I hope to do more of those because I actually enjoy doing them. Even if I'm the only one watching them, what the hell? Yeah.
Hey man, but now you have it forever. And look, that's also why your son is so darn good at all this stuff, right? He's my question is he already better than you?
My son is 11 years old and he does a lot of video editing and he's actually really good at it. And I do ask him questions. I mean, as much as I do of all this stuff, sometimes I'm like, how do you do that? How did you do that? What is that? It's like, and the funny thing is I'm a terrible teacher. At one point way back in the million years ago, I tried teaching a computer programming course and it was absolutely the worst thing ever. The people who were in it, I'm sorry, because it was terrible. I'm not a good teacher. I'm just not, I don't have the patience to be a good teacher. Right. Whereas my son, he's a great teacher. He's just got boundless patience and he is very clear in his explanation. So I'm like, at least I can leave a legacy of somebody who can help you.
Yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, that's so cool.
For the rest of mine, I had, the sockets in there and, Paige and O'Shea and, a lot of the same people you had, for same reasons. And, I just, to sort of cap it off, the last interview we did, and we did a lot of interviews this year. I mean, we put together almost 50 videos, I think, this year, and we did, what did I say, 37 interviews, 40 interviews, something like
47?
that. I don't think it's 47, but
okay.
We did a lot of interviews, and just sort of like the last one we just finished. You mentioned Hat. I like Hat a lot, and I feel like when I talk to him, he's very generous with his time, and I think I learn a lot from him. He's like like the Bipple Sinhas of the world. They'll spend the time with you and kind of coach you a little bit about things and business and things like that. And I always appreciate their example.
And again, that's why I think that video it did so well so quickly on YouTube, is because I think people want to hear from him. And I think, the people that know, and so they want to watch, because we are all, again, looking for that inspiration, man. We're all looking to learn, and that's how you learn. That's why I love what we're doing here. It's just surround ourselves with great people and just learn from each other, and that's every time we're with him, you're right.
Well, and I also want to throw another one out, since we're sort of talking about, like industry legends with Hat. And we had a couple other guys on who are just like real industry legends, like, Sheik, from NetApp, those who know, right? I mean, and he talked about a lot of the, the social work that he's doing, and his mentoring and things like that. And I thought that just was really fun, and he's always just such a cool guy to talk to. I thought another person who came on who's just got so much credibility within their world is Duncan Epping. He really just, it was great to have him on, and he just had incredible things to say.
Well, that's the thing again, and you talk about, like, if like they're the ones that know Duncan really well, right? Like, it's so there were some people when we booked that one, I got a little, excited, and I started texting some of my other, friends that would really appreciate, like, hey man, Sandesh is going to have Duncan Epping on his podcast, right? So I'm testing those guys, and, I'm getting the back, oh man, God, that's so cool. Oh, good job catching a whale, whatever, but it's like, but that's because we are nerds like that. And we know from like years ago that the whole story, and that's why.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, they're just like, there's so many. Oh, and like another one, and that falls in that category is Ellen Berry. I mean, like, I've known her for many years, and she's just like on every board in Chicago, and she's just she's a wonderful mentor to so many people in Chicago. It was great to have her on, and I always appreciate her input on anything.
Do you have any others?
I could literally go through almost all of them. I mean, there's just so many, like, and some of them are like, cool tech, we had so many cool security conversations, just so many conversations about ransomware, so many conversations about the SolarWinds breach. We had, everything, talking about benefit corporations, and, we talked about, like Octane and, software consumption-based
SaaS market,
stuff, and the SaaS market, and, fungible, composable infrastructure, with so many fun, cool technologies. I think, just next year is going to be an interesting year with, so much of this stuff, coming out.
Yeah.
And reaching maturity, a lot of stuff we've been talking about. So it's going to be cool. I'm excited.
Yeah.
And you'll find out what's going to happen next year when we talk about it in the next video.
I'm really excited about that. I'm going to have to start.
Now we're going to have to make this video.
Done.
So Sandesh, thank you for actually preparing for this. I mean, you had categories and everything.
I did the categories just to make it easier for me. It was all selfish. Don't worry, it wasn't for you. It's completely selfish. Hey, the last thing I just want to say, man, as much as like there's a lot of shitty things happening at home or work or whatever, just so the world, there's a lot of crap happening around us at the same time. But this has been my little like fun. Like I look forward to this. And I know that you do so much of the work on all this editing and all this kind of stuff, and like it's amazing. But I wouldn't be a good partner if I didn't like say thank you, dude, because you're like you enable all this shit, and it's just so fun.
What people don't know is like you do a lot of the booking of the guests, and like chasing all that down, and you have like all these great relationships that you're able to get to people that are sometimes, out of reach for a lot of folks. And so, like doing all that on the back end too, that, people don't see that I see, I really appreciate that stuff. So, thanks for being part of it.
Hey, the good news is we both enjoy what we do. Like you like doing all this, like, cool video thing and, researching topics and being smart. And I love finding great people to talk to and just, whatever I can do to help with that,
Well, and as Paige Lord gave us the advice that we should just retitle the tagline for the show is just two dads talking to cool people about cool stuff.
That's pretty much it. I don't think we need a marketing team anymore. I think we can just cancel that.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. I hope everybody enjoyed the videos that we did this year. And if you like what you saw, please click that like button and think about subscribing. And we will see you in the next video.